10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, Episode 25. Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 25 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. My name is Nick Manella, and I will be your host. We are so happy to have you here for another episode of our short and concise jazz lessons, complete with downloadable PDFs, which you can find on our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com. That's the number 10, minutejazzlesson.com. At our website, you can find a whole bunch of cool stuff. You can find our blog, our resources section, and I also wanted to mention that we have a brand new section of the website, which is the store, where you can support the podcast if you find it useful every month. Please go there and check out some of our products and download them. We've got a lot of really cool stuff there, including our monthly transcription packs. We've got a set of 4 Lester Young transcriptions for only $5 for all 4 transcriptions, and we also just came out with our short ebook called Foundational Exercises for the Improviser, which contains 29 awesome exercises that will, no doubt about it, make you a better improviser after looking over them. So please go and check out the store. This podcast runs on the support of our patrons, the people that listen to the podcast every week and find it useful. So please consider going over there and getting an awesome product. Nothing is really expensive, and if you have $5 or $7 per month to spare, we would really appreciate it. It helps us on our end. Okay, so today we are going to do our monthly Lick of the Month episode, and this month we're going to take a look at a Michael Brecker line over a dominant chord, which I think is one of the coolest lines that I've heard in a long time. It's from his solo over Song for My Father, and there's so much information packed into this one dominant chord that it's just going to be so useful for you. You're going to get so much out of it, and you're going to learn a whole bunch. If you've never delved into chord substitutions or sort of playing outside the changes over a dominant chord, this will be a great thing for you to look at and tear apart and understand how an absolute master jazz musician such as Michael Brecker handles a dominant chord when he wants to go outside of the key. So I'm going to start by just playing the line for you, and now keep in mind this is over one dominant chord. He does this over a D7 chord, but what you're going to notice when I'm playing it is that it definitely doesn't stay in D7. You're going to notice that he outlines a whole bunch of different keys while this one chord is happening. So when you first hear it, it might sound a little bit intimidating, but don't worry, after I play it, we're going to unpack everything that happens in the line. So here's what it sounds like. Okay, so you can hear that he does a lot more than just the typical D7 diatonic stuff in there. He's really packing a lot of information into that. So let's take it apart sort of step by step. Now, I suggest that you have the PDF in front of you while we're looking at this, because I'm going to go through the line beat by beat and let you know what's going on, and you can write all over your sheet or whatever you need to do. But it would be good to have it in front of you while you're listening to this. So he starts in a really, really simple way, in a very diatonic way. He simply plays 1, 2, 3, 4 of the D7 chord. So D, E, F sharp, G. Now on beat 2, these are all 16th notes. On beat 2, he goes way outside of the key, and he does a really, really typical chord substitution in jazz, which is called the tritone substitution. So if you go a tritone away from D, you end up with an A flat. So what he does is he plays 1, 2, 3, 4 of the diatonic key of D7, and then immediately after he goes to the key of A flat and he plays 1, 2, 3, 5 in the key of A flat. And what that does is it takes your ear right from the key of D7 to the key of A flat all of a sudden. Then what he does on beat 3 is he comes back to a D, and now beat 3 is him arpeggiating a D augmented triad. So if you've never heard of augmented before, what that means is that he's sharping the fifth. So you see he plays D, A sharp, F sharp, and D, which outlines the three notes of a D augmented chord. So he does come back to the key of D, but he's superimposing an augmented sound over a regular D7 chord, which is also very common in jazz. You hear an augmented sound on a dominant chord all the time throughout the history of jazz. So let's go over what we have so far. So he plays right up a D scale. Then he switches to the tritone substitution, plays up an A flat scale, 1, 2, 3, 5 of an A flat scale. Then he comes back to the key of D, but he's superimposing D augmented, and he plays right down that triad. And then on beat 4, he goes back to the tritone substitution. So you'll see he plays in the key of A flat, 1, 3, 2, 1 in A flat, and then he resolves that to a G chord, because that is where the chord progression is going after this measure of D7. We're landing on a G7 chord. So he's playing tension and release, therefore on beat 4 he plays the thing that's going to provide him with the most tension. And a tritone substitution is a very tense sound. It's pretty much all the notes that don't technically work, quote unquote, with the chord. So he's playing all those really, really crunchy notes right before he resolves to a G chord, and over the G chord he simply plays 1 and 5. So G down to D, and that releases the tension. And this is what a true master improviser does, really a true master musician does. They're really good at framing tension and release. And Michael Brecker does an awesome job of that here. So this is a little bit advanced, this is a lot of stuff to think about. But what I want you to do is take some of the concepts from this line and try to work them into your own playing. So the major concept here being a tritone substitution. So next time you're playing over a dominant chord, what I want you to try to do is superimpose the key a tritone up and see if you can make a line work with those notes in it, all the while realizing that they only sound good back to back. So you have to go from the key that you're in to the key a tritone above, back to the key that you're in, back to a tritone above, and then you have to make sure that the tension comes right before the release. So in the case of a 2-5-1, say that you have G minor 7 to C7 to F major 7, and that's your 2-5-1. So over the G minor chord, you could play some G minor material. Then over the dominant chord, what you would want to do is you would want to play some material in the key of C7 and then go to the key a tritone above. So you would want to play some stuff in F sharp major over that part of the measure. And they sound so good back to back from each other that this is why the tritone substitution is one of the most popular sounds in jazz. I'll give you a warning though, this is not easy stuff. So I'm going to give you one exercise that will help you with your tritone substitutions. And it's very similar to what Michael Brecker does here. What we're going to do is we're going to play 1, 2, 3, 5 in the root key, and then 1, 2, 3, 5 in the tritone key. And we're going to go back and forth between those two things. This will be your first step into getting into tritone substitution. So I'm giving you this little bonus exercise to help you out with some of the sounds that you hear Michael Brecker playing and put them into a way that you can actually start working on them. So here's that exercise. So you can hear that tritone, that tension and release. I'm playing in the key on beat 1 and 2. I'm playing the tritone substitution on beat 3 and 4. That's giving me the tension, and I'm playing that right before I release back into the home key, the 1. So this is the 5 to 1 progression. So hopefully that will help you along your way. If you want to get deeper into tritone substitutions and substitutions in general, simply get in touch with me at 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com. We can set up a Skype lesson to get a little bit deeper into this, and I'll give you some more advanced examples and licks to work on. But these are the basics, and if you cover these, you're going to be in good shape. Most of all, we want to get your ears acclimated to what a tritone substitution actually sounds like. So remember, put this stuff in all 12 keys to get maximum benefit out of it. And that's going to do it for our lesson today. So hopefully you found that stuff useful. And go and check out Michael Brecker's solo on Song for My Father if you want to hear this in context. It's in the second chorus, and I'm sure you'll be able to hear it after listening to this episode. I hope everybody has a great week. Remember, if you have a second, please go on to iTunes, leave us a rating and review, and please go to the website and buy one of our products to support the podcast. We really rely on that, and we really, really super appreciate any purchase that you can afford to make every month. Helps keep the podcast going. All right, I will talk to you guys next week. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.